Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hammer Podcast. But before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button to help grow this channel. It is greatly appreciated. And to everybody who has subscribed so far, thank you very much. Now, today is May 18th, 2020, and we are talking with Leda Rush. Leda attended the Bethesda Home for Girls in Hattiesburg, Mississippi 3 times, from 1981 to 1984. Now, the home is no longer there, but the nightmares remain to this day. And all this physical and mental abuse goes back to one person, the late Evangelist Lester Roloff. Let's listen to Leda's story.
Okay, hi, my name's Leda Rush, and I was at Bethesda Home for Girls 3 times during the years of 81 to 84. This home was not what they told our parents it was going to be. These people degraded us. There were times that we didn't have vacuum cleaners. We had to pick carpet. If we didn't do it right, we got licks, or we had to write sentences. And there were some things that happened, girls that were pregnant, that they paddled. And then when they paddled the girls, they would be so bruised and so swollen that they would put them in a bathtub full of water, and usually it was hot water. And we had pregnant girls that got whipped, and at night you could hear them screaming. And there were so many of our babies that we feel were taken from us. Me, I had a child there the second time I was there, and I never signed no papers. He pretty much was taken from me the day he was born. And later on through the years, I found out that my son was adopted from a church. My name's nowhere. He was adopted from a church. During the earlier years of Bethesda, in the smaller dorm, there were at times where that little bitty dorm held over 90 girls. Girls had to sleep on the floors. If you were just a little overweight, they called you. You were considered fat. You were one of the fat girls. So you didn't get to eat as much. What little they did feed us, they would put girls that they thought were overweight, and they would put them on these grapefruit diets or just a fasting diet with nothing but liquid. Food there just wasn't the greatest. Matter of fact, when I was pregnant, the second time I was there, I actually lost weight instead of actually gaining during my pregnancy. I feel like that there were times where I didn't understand even the first time, and this is before the state had came in 82 and closed the home down, that I didn't understand what medicine call was. Why were so many girls being given medicine? Now, over the years, you read through some of their things, people have said that they were, with things like experimenting with medicines, because we were always given medicine. Sometimes there'd be things. We had black tongue. Black tongue is something from a cow, and us girls got it. And there was just so many different things from 5 a.m. to when we went to bed at night, continuously over the intercom system. It was nothing but religion.
Lester Roloff.
Yes, sir. And that is who we listened to on the speaker systems, and we would have to get up in the mornings listening to that. sit in the hallway listening to devotions and it was God. But what they did, sorry.
That's okay.
This is the first time that I've spoke about the flesh. It was all gone. And then the things that they done to us, the paddling. If we didn't clean right, we didn't clean our mirrors right, we would get licks. And you could get licks until you got it right. And everything was just God. And the things that they did and the things that some of us girls had to endure, that wasn't godly. And I never could get my parents to believe me of the things that was going on in the home. Even when the state came in 82, where Steve, but when he came in and they closed the home down in 82 because of a girl who, thank God for her and her parents, she came in pregnant, and she's in court records, but she came in pregnant, and her parents told her, if anything is going wrong, misspell deer when you write us a letter, and we'll know that something is wrong. And one day we're all in our little cubbies at school, and there's these loud knocks at the door, and one of the workers walked over to answer the door, and that's when, the state just kind of came in.
Uh-huh.
And that's when we showed them pictures that we have snuck and hid because we wanted proof to show people that there were girls getting paddled to the point to where it would be considered a beating, not just being paddled. And we took pictures, and when the state came in, there was approximately around 90 girls, I would say, in that home at that time, in that little bitty dorm. And just about every one of us went home. I'm one that signed the petition against the home. And then there was other girls that they just said, right, yes or no. Do you want to leave or do you want to stay? And there wasn't very many girls at all that stayed. And that was one of the best times because we had no doors locked. We had freedom. We could walk in and out and not have to worry about nothing. They were really good about scaring us into things, like stories. When I first got there in 81, that is when some of the girls had tried to run, and one of the girls was killed in the process of trying to run. She was hit by a truck. And
yes, I heard about that.
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
And of course, there's two stories to that. Of course, of what some of the girls that were with her says happened, and then of course what it says happened. I mean, there's two stories. But we did lose one of our sisters from trying to run, and she got killed by a truck. The place, when my parents sent me back the second time, I was pregnant, and that's pretty much why they sent me back. I got paddled. I have children now and great kids. There wasn't never enough food. And if we ever walked up to the line and we saw a good meal cooked, we knew that somebody important was coming, or somebody was bringing a new girl in, or they might have got word that the state might be coming in. And those times, the meals were great. Other than that, sometimes with a graham cracker, two pieces of bread and cheese. And the second time of me being there, I was there for one whole year. And that's when they built the new dorm. And
okay.
That dorm, when we moved there, of course, we had a lot more room. But still, alarms on the windows. If we wrote letters, if they didn't like what we said, they would, black it out. And they kept us from our family, for months before we were even allowed to speak to them. Never visits from family. Some girls did get to, but, we weren't really allowed visits or anything like that. If they were really, didn't want you really talking to other girls much. They didn't want us communicating. They didn't, different things. And if we got caught, we got paddled, or we had to write sentences, or they would just say, okay, we want you to write these scriptures out of the Bible. And, it was just God constantly. Everything we did had to be focused around God. The third time I went to the home, like I said, my parents still would not believe me on anything that was being done. And I went to court twice while I was at Bethesda. I went to court around in 82 one time. And then after my son was about a year old, I got asked to come back to court because of some of the babies were, the girls, and everybody thought that some of our babies had been sold. Some, we don't even know if the girls even made it to hospitals, because there was one girl who was pregnant. She got paddled. She started bleeding, and nobody would help her. Nobody. The workers, nobody. And then she left, but then was back like the next couple of days, and we weren't supposed to talk about it. Don't ask questions, don't nothing. One day she's pregnant with twins. She gets paddled. She's bleeding. And then she doesn't have any babies anymore. So there was a lot that home did. Mentally affected so many of us. And me personally, I wish I had went and got help earlier and talked to people about this, because this home haunts me. I continuously have nightmares. I hear girls screaming and crying out for help. And if we dared try to help, of course, then we got in trouble. And
mental abuse is one of the things that lasts a long time. Physical abuse, the scars heal or the cuts heal, but mental abuse is, and I've seen that a lot with these Baptist churches, especially the homes that were related or affiliated with Lester Roloff.
Right.
The emotional abuse was horrific.
Yeah, I didn't know. With me, like I said, I've never spoken at Bethesda. People that know me, I've never told. No, I've never spoke of it. And then finally, just a few years ago, I actually reached out to some of the girls because it haunts me so bad at what things that they done, and and things that they don't want to talk about. Things that like I said, they scared us with things that happened to girls that might have even been there when I think their names were Brother Bert and Dot. I believe that was their names, but they were they used to run the home before the Wheels actually started running it.
Okay.
And they were a lot worse. And so those stories carried on to some of us girls. Like when we came in to make sure that we were pure they would give girls Lysol and bleach dishes. Just some of the things that they did where they thought they were, in the name of God, cleansing people. They really hurt some girls to where they can't have children because of what happened to the Bethesda.
Was there sexual abuse going on there too?
Sexual abuse. The only thing is that some of the boys that would come up on they would bring some boys over to work on the land out there. Okay, But me personally, I never saw sexual abuse from Brother or Mrs. Wills. Never. Emotional, mental, stuff like that. Yes. Sexual with them, no. But some of the boys that would come over, there was a girl that came in 81, and a few months later, she was pregnant. Well, she told us, some of the girls, that she got pregnant by one of the boys that had been over there doing some work on the land. And then we also had other people, like the Yoder family. They lived out there at Bethesda. They had 2 sons, and they helped out, like in the kitchen and with yard work and stuff like that. And there were always rumors that, some of the girls had gotten pregnant by some of the boys that would come up on at the home to do work.
Right.
And, the third time I got sent to Bethesda, after 2 times, I went in realizing that if I kissed butt and just did what I was supposed to, and did what they told me to do, I would have a better time. And as sad as it is, I did. The older girls that had been there longer sometimes would be able to go to the store. It wasn't often, but we would be allowed to pick out our own deodorant and our own shampoo and our own razor. But if you weren't there for, you had to be there a year or longer before they would even trust you with anything like that. And the third time was a lot easier on me, but I wasn't there but a few months. And I actually do not know the reason that my parents took me out early the third time. But like I said, for me on the third time, I had a little easier time. Now, of course, I witnessed a lot of things that happened to other girls. But the third time, I just learned. Just do what they say. Act like you believe in all this, and your time will be so much better.
Well, your first time there, Leda, what was your reason for going there? Were you just rebellious? Were you...
Yeah, I didn't want to stay at home. I was an only child.
Right.
I was an only child for many years, and my parents decided that they wanted to adopt a little boy and a little girl, and I was about 11 years old at the time. And that devastated me. It did. I don't know why. I thought at that time I wasn't good enough for my parents, and so I started rebelling against everything, my parents and the law, and I started very young, 12 years old, doing things that I shouldn't have been out doing. And my parents, hearing about the home the first time, of course, to any Christian, it sounds wonderful because they tell you there's horses and we get to go outside and we get to go swimming and all of this. No, we don't get to do any of that. I don't ever recall even seeing a horse, but I don't know. But there was very few times that we even got to go outside. They just didn't let us do a whole lot. They kept us inside to where every every corner we turned or anything, it was, it could be on the intercom system, it could be on a little tape recorder, but something about, usually it was Brother Lester Roloff, and we would have to listen to his sermon all day. And then, of course, school was ACE program, which is religion. It's
right.
also Christian. When I got out of the home and tried to go back to a public school, I had done 12th grade work at Bethesda, and they were telling me I had to start back at 9th grade. So the credit's there.
Right.
It was not the same.
The ACE program was garbage.
Yes.
I know it stands for Accelerated Christian Education.
Mhm.
When I was at Lester Roloff's school, his elementary school, that's what we went through, and of course when I went to junior high, they wouldn't take it. I had to start basically over again. So that ACE program was strictly Christian. No public school would touch it.
Right, yeah. And that was the only thing that really my parents said anything about, was like, oh, well, that really upset me that the school part of it, you didn't get the credit you deserve. Mom, they paddled me while I was pregnant. Oh, I don't believe you. And because of them not believing me as a teenager, being in a place like Bethesda, like the Brother Lester Roloff homes, and they never believed me. So throughout my life, it's been hard with my parents to be close to them, because why would you be a Christian and send your child, and your child come home and have proof? I went to court to try to keep that home closed down in 82. And, but they just kept sending me back. And so it's caused a lot of issues with me. I don't trust people to this day.
Understandably so.
I don't have a relationship. My mother has passed, but I don't have a relationship with my father, because I can't ever get anybody in my family, because they are Christians, to admit that this place was wrong.
I know there's some ladies who went to the Bethesda home, the ones I've interviewed, have said they can't even step foot in a church anymore because it brings back the memories.
Yeah, I haven't been to church since Bethesda.
Yeah,
I quit believing for a long time. Like right now, I struggle with my faith because everything, even though that was some of that 40 years ago for me, that I don't feel comfortable talking about God much. I don't know what I believe and what I don't, because it confuses me. And to walk even near a church, it literally makes me sick to my stomach. And then all those fears of Bethesda just keeps rolling back and just keeps coming. And, it's just, there was just a lot of abuse, a lot of stuff done in the name of God that just shouldn't have never been done. And, and I don't understand why people are still trying to open up these homes. And parents and people don't understand that just because they say Christian does not mean it's all great. It does not mean that it's going to be perfect.
There are a lot of Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
So there's a lot just because they call themselves Christians doesn't mean that they don't, there's not any sex offenders, there's not people who rob you. I mean, just because you call yourself Christian doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can still be a person that robs, steals, lies, and that kind of stuff. So, and I've noticed that a lot of times, most of the people who are doing these kinds of things, especially at these homes, are the Christians, and they just puts a bad taste in everybody's mouth. But there are a lot of people who are true believers who would say, no, they would never do that. But
right.
yes, they would, and they do.
Oh, yes, and they do.
Yes.
They do. And like I said, there's so much more that I could tell. I mean, like I said, I was there from 81 to 84, 3 different times.
Uh-huh.
But it all just boils down to the same thing of them just pushing God. We had to sing a song in line before we even ate. We had to sing a song before we could even eat. And then, like I said, they would literally, fat girls to the back, like they never made us feel like that we were okay, even okay. We were always made to feel like that we were useless. And if we did not turn our lives over to God, that, we would go to hell. And when we, like the pregnant girls, we would always hear, you can't be a mother. You're gonna let your child live in sin, and they scared a lot of girls. Me personally, I didn't want to give my son up for adoption. I went into labor in March of '83, and I went to the hospital, Force General Hospital, and the next thing I know, about like the next night or so, I woke up and I wasn't pregnant. They had put me to sleep. And I've had children since then, and I wasn't put out like that. Totally just knocked out, and then woke up, and I have no baby. And then when I finally, it was time for me to go back to the home, and I was like, wait a minute, I want to see my son. I want to see him. And they said, he's gone. He's already gone. And I went, what do you mean he's already gone? And they said, you signed the papers. And I said, no, I didn't. And they said that somebody had brought papers up to me at the hospital, and I signed them. Well, a few years back, I met my son for the first time. I did get in contact with them. And his mother that adopted him, she gave me the adoption papers. And it's literally, it just kind of looks like that he was adopted from a church. And where, they say that all them adoptions are supposed to be closed and nobody's names. Well, my name was in there, but it was like I gave my baby to this church, and then the church, the people who adopted my son adopted him from that church.
The church. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And I have them papers.
Illegal adoptions.
Yes, sir. Very illegal.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried to go to court over it to see if you could get custody of your son again?
Well, no, sir. You know what? I look at it like this. I have 2 beautiful daughters I have my grandkids, my great-grandkids now, and I would never do that to the couple who adopted my son.
Did they know that it was an illegal adoption?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. They probably don't really understand it to that extent. And plus, my son has lost his adopted him, and now it's just him and his mom. And we all have a very good understanding. I mean, he knows I'm his biological mother. But that's his mother. She raised him. When I went to court a second time, because they were actually giving some of the girls another chance, like to come in and be like, okay, these adoptions were not done legally, and they were giving girls another chance to get their kids back. Literally, we were able at that time, if we wanted to take our children back. And at this time, my son had probably been with this family about 18 months. And I was pregnant with my daughter. And I couldn't, as much as the wrong that they did in my adoption, I could not take that child from the only mom and dad that he knew.
Right.
And I couldn't do it to him. So, but we talk, and me and his mom were very close, and we have had issues, of course.
Yeah.
And of course, I understand he was adopted. He has a lot of questions. He's upset about things. I'm just grateful that I do know that he went to a wonderful mom and dad. He did. It might not have been done all legally right, but I'm very grateful that he was given to some wonderful parents.
It's amazing how some of the members of the church are wonderful and kind, but then you get the people who are the leaders of the church and the deacons, the ones that are running the homes, are just wicked and cruel.
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, yeah.
And these are the people that are supposed to be leading this congregation. It's basically they're two-faced liars.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody sees
it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, nobody sees it because they're so, I don't want to say the word brainwashed, but they're just so, I don't know if they're just entranced or this is just something they've done all their lives. They grew up in Christian homes, and this is what they were taught. You follow the leaders of the church no matter what.
Right.
So,
and I do know that the church, that the way the adoption papers read, I do know that the church that my son was, like, where it says, it kind of words that he was adopted from this church, and I do know that his parents was a member of that church.
Yeah.
So, but I will not knock them on anything, because I do feel like that I am grateful, because a lot of girls, we don't know what happened to their babies. We don't know if they were the ones sold. We don't know if something happened to them, and I am grateful that I know that he had a good family.
I know there was an instance, I read it online where they were talking about some pregnant girl. They gave her baby up for $200 or something like that.
They sold it.
Yes, that's just cruel.
Yeah.
Cool.
And see, until I found my son, I didn't know, if he had been the ones that were sold. If he had been, I just didn't know. And I didn't find out until many years later. But like I said, the home has just really put my state of mind is not in a good spot. I don't leave my house. I'm terrified to leave. And that makes no sense sometimes, because they locked us up. We had the doors locked from the inside out. The windows had alarms. We knew there was no way for us to get out of that place. And they just kept us in. And I think over the years of me never going and getting help, like so many girls did, and I wish I had them, but I didn't seek help. And so I've just dealt with all of these memories, all of the streams, like I said, one girl pregnant, she was bleeding so bad, and they wouldn't even help her. And I think you said that if it's in court records, that when the state came in and that girl had wrote deer wrong, she misspelled deer on her thing, and it's in the court records, it's on the internet and everything. But if Candy Harper had done that, I don't think that anything would have even gotten started with Bethesda. She got it going when she misspelled deer, and her family came immediately.
Oh, okay.
And yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's how it all came about in 82 when the lawyer, Morris Dees, and everybody that he brought with him, that is when that happened. And it was because Candy Harper felt like that what was going on was not right. And she put a lawsuit up against the home.
Did
and
she
when
win?
her family came, I don't know. I really don't know what happened. I just read on the internet, you know about things, and here lately they don't really write too much no more. But that is how it all came about. Like Candy misspelled deer. Her parents came in, and when they came in, they had Morris Dees, that lawyer, and they had other people with them. And, I mean, the doors were opened, and the windows were opened, and we were able to walk outside because we were going home. Especially, they gave us a card, an index card, and they said, write yes or no, if you want to stay or if you want to leave. And if you signed the petition against the home, pretty much they wanted you to leave. And I signed the petition against the home. They needed to know what was going on.
Right.
At that time. But
Go ahead.
But then in 82, again in July of 82, I got sent right back. They left the home in 82 when the state came in. They left. They went underground. Now, some of the girls can tell you exactly where they went, but I don't know exactly where they took the girls, the ones that stayed with them. And then by July of 82, that home was opened back up, and it wasn't supposed to be. And that's when I got sent in the second time because I was pregnant.
80, wow.
82 to 83, and I stayed one full year that time. And then that was the time that they started building the bigger dorm next door. They started it. But, I mean, we had girls like all night you were watched, all day you were watched. We called them hall walkers. And they stayed up all night and just walked the halls, shining flashlights, making sure you were in bed and, not trying to escape. And during the times there was a lot of girls that rebelled. There was a major riot at the home. I'm glad the girls stood up and finally took stand. Not that it did them any good at the time, but there for a few days, they did take over the dorm. And that was interesting. We had a little riot that happened. They did. That was Mr. and Miss Wills had went on one of their little choir tours thing that they did with the choir girls.
Uh-huh.
And during that time is when some of the girls I think they got fed up. They were just fed up with everything. And they lashed out. And, and they did. They took over the dorm for a little bit. But then as soon as the Wills came back, there comes the licks. They're taking girls and putting them up in separate little groups and, and then shortly after all of that, in 84, that's when my parents came and got me, and I didn't go back. And I didn't go back again. And then in 86, it was completely closed down. Chains on the doors, everything.
Right. And then it burned down.
Oh, yes, it burned down. That was a wonderful, I hate to say that, but that was such a wonderful sight to see that that big old dorm was in flames, and no other girl would have to suffer that dorm. No other girl would have to suffer again. And that's kind of what it felt like.
But the only problem is this, like I said, it just didn't happen with Bethesda. You have other places. In fact, I just did one with the Victory Christian Academy, and Yes, you had the Rebecca home, you had the Lighthouse, you had the Anchor, you had all these homes, and the thing is, all of them were affiliated with one man, Lester Roloff.
Lester Roloff.
Lester Roloff was the root.
Yeah.
They treated this man like he was a god. I mean, he could do no wrong. Everything he did was right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he was arrested at times.
Oh, yes.
If you go back and look at, different, and like I said, the things I won't say anything if I haven't seen it myself or it's on the computer and court records.
Uh-huh.
But he was arrested many times and always got out, and none of his homes got, the Lighthouse boys. That's a Lester Roloff home, the Lighthouse boys. I think Palmer home, if they're even still open, that was a home that was affiliated with Brother Lester Roloff. Bethesda Home For Girls.
Mike Palmer, he's the one that ran the Victory Christian Academy.
Okay, that's them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
See, see, all of these homes were just, like I said, it was just, I don't know. And then it really just, it could really confuse girls on, well, so I want to believe in this God that, for so many years we were told, we were going to go to hell for this, and, if you wore pants and if you ate pork and we couldn't have caffeine or anything like that, because if we did, we were sinning. And, and sinners went to hell. And then when I got out of the home and really started, like I said, it took me many years to reach out. And I reached out to Miss Wills and actually wrote her and told her exactly how I felt about what they had done. And she blocked me on Facebook. And so I've never been able to say anything else to her. But when I saw her page, they had bleaching on. They were eating pork chops at the dinner table. They were, you saw chocolate, you saw drinks, you saw all of this stuff that we were told. If you do this, you're sinning and you're going to go to hell. But then here they are with that big, huge, beautiful horse ranch thing that they've got with all this money. And then all of us girls, can you imagine over the years of how many years and how many girls that they literally have messed their minds up?
Oh, yes.
Maybe some not as long, but people like me, it affects to this day.
Yes, a lot of girls were mentally abused, and like I said, it lasts a long time. Some girls will go to therapy, and it helps. But there's some girls that deal with it in their own way. I mean, there are some girls in the Victory Christian Academy. Some committed suicide, and it was. And these people should be held accountable. Problem is, Lester Roloff is dead, so he can't be held accountable. I'm sure the Wills and Michael Palmer are still alive, but what are they going to do to him?
Yeah, I think. What are you going to do? Nothing. It seems like that. Even when we went to court, and and said things, and they had the proof in 81 and 82, all the pictures, because we had to use a Polaroid camera.
Uh-huh.
And there were times we would just take a picture real quick of somebody's bruises, and we would hide it, because we always knew that one day we're going to get a girl to trust us to get these pictures out, to get where we would take our Bibles and learn. Some of us girls, well, I know I did, I circled certain letters, numbers, and everything like that, like an encrypted code, okay?
Right.
That once I got out, I could go back to this Bible and go, okay, this happened on this day. This happened. And I had it all in my Bible, and with circles around letters and numbers. And because if you were caught with anything, I mean, the licks were horrible. And they were so hard, and they left such bad welts. And I've even seen girls to where it brought blood up to the skin, where it trickled blood. They were hit so hard. pregnant girls. And you don't whip a pregnant girl and then her start bleeding and not want to do anything about it.
Right.
Now, eventually they did, but we don't know what happened to her. We know that she was gone, and then when she came back, she wasn't pregnant anymore. And that happened to a few girls. They're just gone. They go have their babies, and then they're back. And, of course, we were told you don't talk to nobody. Friendship was, really talked against. They didn't want us making friends. They didn't want us talking. Thank God a lot of girls, which we were new girls, but our helpers, some girls had some really, cooler helpers, I guess, and then some girls did. And they would let us new girls talk. But if any of the other workers or, some of the, Brother Miss Wills or anybody that was older, if they heard, it was bad. And it could get really bad on the girls. And they would show us a movie about hell, what would happen if the world came to the end and, and it was time. And so they scared us into so much. And, it is kind of creepy when you have to fall asleep to Brother Lester Roloff preaching constantly. And then when you wake up to that at 5 a.m. in the mornings over the intercom system, that's how we were woke up, was him giving his devotion for the day to start our day out. And other than that, we did chores. If it wasn't about God, it was about chores.
Yes, you're right. And the music, when I heard Lester Roloff, his music, it was just a little sad organ playing in the background as he would sing. Oh, it was depressing.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what we had in just where they built the new dorm, and where we did school, ate, everything. That dorm is tiny. And I wish they would just tear that dorm down. Just go ahead and just tear that whole place down.
Yeah.
And get rid of it. Just
like I said, but the thing about these homes, whichever ones they are, is they go where there's, when the Rebecca home closed down, they went to Arizona because Arizona didn't have you didn't have to have a license to run a home.
Right.
So when they shut that down, they went to Florida and rebranded it as the New Beginnings. So what these people do is when they get shut down, they open up somewhere else. And they're going to keep doing that till somebody stops them. And the thing is, how do you stop them?
Right.
Except put out, legislation to say, hey, you will take a license to run this home. Now, Rebecca Home now, the New Beginnings or whatever, they're not taking people under 18. Now they're taking people 18 and above. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's how they're getting around the system now.
Okay. Yeah, I heard see, another thing they scared us girls with at one time is that one of the homes, I think she committed suicide or something. I'm not sure. But like I said, they always wanted to threaten us. Anything that they thought would scare us into turning our life over to God and just, believing exactly how they believed, they would do it. Anything that they could just mess with our minds about. And, when you listen to God just almost 24/7, except when you're sleeping, it gets a little much. And then that's where it leaves me personally confused on how, you call yourself a Christian, but then you can do these things to a human being. And I don't know. I want these homes. I want every one of them to be closed down or not to ever be able to open up another one. And I finally decided that if these little podcasts actually can help in any little way, just help a parent, maybe do a little more research, and maybe learn a little bit more about it and Google things. look up things and just because your child may be doing a little bit wrong, just don't automatically send them to the first place that you can think of or the first place you find. Because, you know, like my parents, the church that my parents were involved in, they said, oh, this is where you need to send her. They'll help her, you know, and it's a Christian place. And when I got out in 82, I tried to tell them, and still, you know, they were blind to what I was trying to say because, of course, I wasn't a good child at that time, and they didn't believe nothing. They just wouldn't believe anything I said, and that's caused a lot of issues.
Normally when you hear the word Christian, people automatically think they can trust them.
Mm-hmm.
When you add the title Christian, all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, it's a Christian place. All right, I think we can trust it. Well, don't be fooled. And now with the Internet, there's no excuse for parents not to do their research and check these places out, because these websites are not going to tell you the bad things that happen. They're going to tell you all the good things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you have to go to the forums. You have to go to other places where they have reviews and check out the place thoroughly and see if this is the right place to send your kid or not.
Yeah. And I hope parents will start, you know, for our next generations, you know, to take a little bit more time and check into places, and, you know, because that home, all these homes that are affiliated with Brother Lester Roloff, just like Redemption Ranch that was affiliated with Bethesda, okay, they shackled the boys' legs to their beds. And that is the truth, because one time we had a flood at Bethesda, and it flooded us out. It flooded our dorm. We had to go to the boys' home at Redemption Ranch, and we had to stay there. And they, of course, tried their best to separate the boys from the girls. And we walked in, and on not all beds, but there were shackles on some of the beds that belonged to the boys. And so some of the boys at Redemption Ranch, they really had it bad.
Yeah.
And I wish some of them would speak out, because, you know, our stories are horrible. Some of our stories are horrible. Some girls, they really think the home helps them. And you know, and I don't down them for that. I think that's wonderful. If they did get something good out of that, I don't know how, but if they did, that's wonderful. Because I don't want anybody having the thoughts that I have at 40 years later, and of how much this place has destroyed me as a human being, as a person. Just, you know, I can't leave the house hardly. I can't go places. I don't want to be around people. And it's been 40 years, you know, from the beginning of me being sent to these homes. And it has majorly affected my mind and a lot of things. Confusion on religion. And I don't know what to do or where to turn when it comes to things like that.
Well, sometimes it's hard to separate, as they say, the sheeps from the goats or the wolves, because, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some people that I know that are Christians that are very, very nice people.
Right.
You know, they wouldn't hurt a fly. They're very kind. They're very hospitable. But then there are some that to your face they're nice and kind, and then behind your back they will put a knife right between your spine. You know what I mean?
Yes,
so
sir.
It's really hard to distinguish the sheep from the wolves sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So to
it
speak.
is when it comes to that.
When it comes to religion, because you have no idea.
Yes.
And these homes, and hearing people talk about these homes, just, yeah, you don't know what to believe. Are these people nice? No, obviously not. But it also puts a bad sheds a bad light on the people who are actually nice.
Right. Yeah, because I won't, like other girls, I won't go to a church. I will not. I haven't stepped in a church in a very long time. And I just have that fear. But Bethesda and what we learned there has just made me very confused as an adult. And then now I have grandchildren, and I have a great-granddaughter. And, you know, I don't know what to tell them when they ask me about religion or anything, because I don't want to make them, you know, shun against something that they may be interested in because I had a bad experience. And that's where the religion part, I just don't know.
Well,
to me, any religion.
If they decide to join a church, do some research and make sure it's not affiliated with Lester Roloff.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Make sure it's thoroughly vetted out.
Yeah.
Oh.
And, you know, it really was sad. I mean, it was sad when Brother Lester Roloff, when his plane crashed, because other people suffered. I mean, they died in that crash too. But when that happened, I really thought that maybe some truth might come out of some things. And it didn't.
No.
It didn't.
No, I got a chance. I got a chance to meet Lester Roloff one time when I was, I was probably like 9 or 10. He was talking to some of the people there, and he seemed like a very nice man. I mean, I heard his sermons. His sermons were really rough and callous. But if you talk to him, he seemed like a very nice man. What he was like behind closed doors, I don't know. We'll never know. But it seemed like he truly believed what he meant. He believed the Bible literally, and everything that he said, he did. You know what I mean? He was a true believer.
Yes.
He wouldn't say one thing and do another. Now, his sycophants, on the other hand, his followers, Wiley Cameron, Crummy, some of these other guys, they were the ones you had to watch out for. Because after a while, it got to be it wasn't about helping people anymore. It was more about the money. They needed money.
I was going to say that, yeah. Because my parents at the time, they had money. And I do believe with all my heart that is one reason why that I kept getting sent back. Also, because the Wills knew that my parents they had that money and they would send it every month. And I was there for 3 Thanksgivings, 3 Christmases, and 2 birthdays, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And my parents paid for a lot of the food. They helped out a lot. They donated a lot of money to Bethesda. And so my parents and the Wills had a relationship like no other. And when I got out of the home the 3rd time, my mother, we were going to go on vacation. And my mom, of course, she's going wherever, and it was supposed to be a surprise for me. And all of a sudden, I saw Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And I thought I was going to die right there. I thought, what have I done wrong now to be sent back? No, my mom thought that it would be nice to go do a visit. And we went and visited Bethesda for a visit. And so I was like, well, can I just sleep in the dorm, with some of the girls? And Miss Will said, yeah. So I brought in bags. I snuck bags full of candy, all kind of stuff back there for them. But that scared me to death. I thought, oh, my Lord, here it goes again. But it was just a visit. My mother stayed with the Wills, and I stayed in the dorm. And before we went, and I said, Mom, I got to do something. She said, all right. I stopped at a local convenience store, and I bought candies, all kind of stuff, and just gave it out to certain girls and said, don't get caught. Just don't get caught.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame that the girls had to go through that. That was, and that's your childhood. Your childhood was robbed from you.
Yeah. To this day, when it comes to cleaning, and I know this is crazy to hear it, but because we had mirrors, in our bathrooms and mirrors in different places, and it was a very thing. You had to clean those mirrors to the T. There could be no smudges whatsoever on a mirror. And this is no lie. Where the house that I live in now, I've been here 10 years, and it has glass pieces just like a whole wall. It's glass. And it literally about 2 months ago, I feel bad for saying that, but it took me up until about 2 months ago to where I could clean these mirrors without crying.
Oh.
Yeah. And sometimes, like when my vacuum cleaner don't work right away and I just want to sweep something up real quick that may be on the carpet, or I might bend down to pick the carpet, that throws back memories at me, because that's what we had to do before. One girl, her name was Tina, and her dad was either the Kirby man or the Hoover man. He sold vacuum cleaners, and he donated all these vacuum cleaners for the home. So we didn't have to pick carpet no more, and we didn't have to sweep the carpet or anything like that. So, sometimes something good would come out of, not very often. There wasn't very many things that I can think of that was, like, pleasant or fun. Other than one time somebody brought in a truckload of watermelon. And they did let all of us, watermelons, but they let all of us girls go outside, and they cut a watermelon in half and gave each girl a half of a watermelon. And to us, that was like, somebody going to Disneyland.
Right.
I mean, we thought that was great.
Lester Roloff was big on the watermelons. I remember that.
I tell you something else. Grapefruit at Bethesda.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, the grapefruit.
Oh, yes.
And that's what they would put. If they thought you were a little overweight, that's what they had the girls eat. They would eat it all day long, a grapefruit. And, so, like, there were girls there that got stomach issues, and there was a couple of girls that, thank God their parents took them out when they did, because they had developed some really horrible stomach issues with their intestines, cold, everything. And thank God they finally, they got to leave because they got the medical help they truly needed. One girl, it was all her gallbladder. And, and so they didn't treat her. And when she finally went home, she was very sick. One girl, not because of her she did not make herself get sick. She just could not eat, and when she did get sick. And when she came to the home, she might have weighed she was still tiny, she might have weighed about 105. When she left Bethesda, when she left, she was probably down to somewhere between 70 and 80 pounds.
Oh.
And when she got home, she had a lot of stomach issues, had surgeries when she had to go home, everything. So, a lot of girls, they have issues to this day, medical issues, that is because of what happened to them at Bethesda. And so that's something we have to live with, and we have to deal with every day of our lives, knowing that this is probably wrong. I probably can't leave my home and terrified to go anywhere, because that Bethesda thing it always just hits me in my face that, oh, no, I need to be confined. Oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, and it mentally affects me. I don't even talk to some of the girls a whole lot, mainly because, as you see, when I first started, I cry. It's hard for me to talk about Bethesda without crying. And I was really concerned about that doing this podcast, because I didn't want my emotion to not be able to let me do this podcast, because the tears are real. The pain is there. It's real. And I was afraid that I would be able to do it, or that maybe y'all wouldn't actually put it out, because of me being so emotional over Bethesda. But I chose, for some reason, not to be put on medication to help with certain things. Because I don't like the feeling of not being real clear-headed. And I know that some of the medication would work, but there's a big part of me that I don't think there's nothing that will ever take away the horror of Bethesda or any of Brother Lester Roloff's homes. I mean,
it's just something
the pain's there.
Yes, it's all about dealing with it instead of letting it overwhelm you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it kind of overwhelmed me.
Take control of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but hopefully, with you telling your story, it kind of helps a little bit in the healing process.
It does.
Of course, it informs other people into saying, okay, wow, this lady here is at the Bethesda affiliate with Lester Roloff. Okay, let me check and make sure that, if I'm going to send my kid to a place, I want to make sure that it's thoroughly vetted out and made sure that this won't happen to my kid. So,
yeah.
I mean, back in the 80s, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have all the information that we have now. And it's sad.
Right.
I'm sorry you had to go through it. I'm sorry all the girls from Bethesda had to go through it. But I guess you can look at it now, today, as a stepping stone for other people, you know what I mean, to help guide them to be more informed and to not let their kids go through what you went through and the other girls from Bethesda went through.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
So
this was really interesting. I'm really glad I did this. I think this might have helped a little bit just to talk, to get it out, to be able to talk to somebody, and maybe just something that I said may change some parents' views about, okay, maybe we do need to check into this a little more and do a little bit more research. And you know what? If I can help one girl, or even Ginger and Cindy and all of us that are doing these, even from the other homes, if we can all just help one girl or one family to make another choice, then it's well worth it.
Oh, yes, definitely.
It's worth it.
I tell people now, whenever some of my Christian friends, when they're talking about this place that they want to go, you better check it out first. You better make sure, because you never know. Like I said, they might be nice to you at first, but then they'll turn right around and take advantage of you. So, and that's not just with Christian organizations. That's also with other secular organizations as well. They have to be thoroughly vetted out too. But I think that if the state had gone in there and taken control, I don't think you would have been through as much of this as you went through. They would have been able to, as far as the beatings and the abuse and the psychological abuse, all that would have not happened if the state had intervened. But
and see, when they came in '82, like they did, and then all of us got to go home, or whatever. And I really thought then, oh, this is it. They're gonna close this home down. And no, they just went hiding for a little while, and they let things cool off in Mississippi, and they opened right back up.
Right.
So
snakes is what they are. Snakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
But
Leda,
I do thank you.
Oh, you're quite welcome. I was going to say thank you for sharing your story. I really appreciate it. It was very informative, and like I said, I hope people can listen to this and sympathize, and also, like I said, learn and be more informed.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right, Leda, hold on there for a second. Let me end the podcast. I'm going to talk to you for a bit. Okay.
Okay.
Hold on just a second.
I want to thank everybody for listening today. And just like Leda, Countless numbers of girls have had their lives destroyed by these religious institutions. Now there's a saying, religion is no longer applicable when love and compassion are thrown out and the love of money and the torture of innocent victims is put in its place. But sadly, this is what religion has become, ladies and gentlemen. Money-making machines with no regard for anyone but themselves. And that, my friends, is a shame. For the Hammer Podcast, I'm Jason. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other.